I'm going to jump into a little bit different view of our sun tonight, and I'm hopefully I can get the play button out of here. So it gives me a time. And it's not going to give me a time. Wonderful. Okay, this covers from the 19th right up to the current time. I want you to look at this view because it really shows you more where the material is going. And you can see we've had, and I'm going to let it go all the way out. Now I'm going to take it back. Okay. Right around in here, just before I did this forecast, we have had some CMEs tonight. I'm trying to see where they're coming. Okay, right there. Right here on our bottom. This is that bottom region between that filament rope beside the bottom here is taken off down here. And we have had some take off from 34, 35 tonight. But as you can look around here, look at all this. There's a shot going up and away from us. You can see how active this is getting, and you can just see how it's just speeding across from one sunspot to another. I'm gonna, yeah, see, watch. Watch how this is shooting across from the energy is shooting across the magnetic field lines from one sunspot back to the other, and they're feeding across and talking to each other now. There's just a massive amount of energy going, and I see something coming around our limb that is not to us, if you can see it too. We've got another 2 sets of sunspots coming around that limb. You can see the umbra lifting off the magnetic loops lifting around the back side of it. So this is not done by any means. So shrink this down. What has happened tonight on the sun? Let's just jump right into this. We've had the development of 3443. It is a beta class. We have had 3441, now that it is no longer directly center disk, has kicked into the active zone. It is connecting magnetically and electrically to 3438 and 3435. It is now beta gamma. This means it is more than capable of kicking off a very large CME. 3442 is also gone beta gamma. It is increased in its size. So let's jump in here. 34, this is changing almost minute by minute by minute right now. It is becoming more and more tightly wrapped around the edges of the major umbra in the center. The polarity is just getting really active here, and it is starting to fill in the space it created between 35 and 38. That is starting to fill in the space with more magnetic regions and polarities in between the 2 spots now. They spread apart. Now they're starting to build more electromagnetic charge between them. And this was trailing behind 35, and it is moving forward. And it has moved forward and has gotten much more dense. 35, 36 is no longer affecting us. 34, 37, very unlikely unless it has a sideways blast that this will affect us. 38, it has gotten to be a very large size. Remember, this was just tiny a couple days ago. This wasn't very big. And now it is just huge, and it is starting, and it separated. It got tightly woven, went to a beta gamma, and started to grow. and it separated out its polarities so that the red was at the top, the negative was at the top, the positive was at the bottom. Now it is starting to interweave. It's gotten so large now and it's getting so much charge to it, it's starting to interweave again. And those polarities are starting to wrap in and around each other. This means it's going into a much more eruptive phase. 34, 39, just sort of hanging out there, not doing much. It's not capable of producing much. 34, 30 has kind of scooted backwards a little bit and a little farther away from 34, 35. But behind it, we're getting the development of another sunspot. And this one is now 31, 44. Okay, 31, 41, you can see here we're starting to get yellow wrapping into the blues and the greens. This means this is starting into a much more eruptive phase, and it is beta gamma. I look for this. It's now 40% chance of creating a CME. If this continues to grow, continues to connect magnetically, electrically to the other sunspots and keep growing, this too could produce a monster. 32 or 34, 42. Remember I said earlier today, this is just hanging out. It really hasn't done much. It's just a beta class flare. It has blown up in the last 7 hours. It did not look like this 5 hours ago. Now we have it growing. It's up in size. It is up in the chance of it becoming a major solar eruptive activity. And you can just see this weaving of the yellows and the greens and the blues intermixing in here. This is moving into a very eruptive state and can produce some major CMEs and flares. 34, 33 is a beta class. It too is starting to pick up some eruptive activity. And I would not be surprised to see this start growing in size and getting more eruptive potential. And now we have 34, 44 that is tucked back in here, and it is starting to get magnetic polarities. What we're not seeing yet is we have something, you could just begin to see it here. They haven't got a good enough glance at it to begin to get its structure. We've got something right back here, and there is something around the limb right in this area right here. So what we have now is not done. We still have some very electromagnetically charged sunspots coming around the sun that may have been the players that were dumping full halo hits on the backside of the sun. And those are just about 2 days from being able to see what kind of structure they have. So I will get up in the morning. I will give you a forecast in the morning, but there is your update for the middle of the night. We are getting closer and closer and closer to the point that these are going to start giving us bigger eruptions. This activity is getting larger and larger and larger and larger. Whoops. If you look at this, taking another view of this again, you can just see the electrical activity shooting across in between following the magnetic field lines in between the sunspots and moving from one region to another and feeding each sunspot region right now. Right now, 35 is just feeding back in here to 40, and it's just feeding the activity right there. And every once in a while, you can see this shoot over here, and we're seeing something shoot around this filament right here. We've got a filament right here. We've got a big looping filament right here. This is massive. Let's stop this, take it up to right about right now. You have a massive filament right here that could let go at a time. You've got this area here that continues to just pop and flare. Right here's your, okay, this one, there is plasma right there leaving the sun. That is a filament, that is a CME right there. That is one of the ones that shot right straight down. It did go down in a way. This has got a potential of hitting us. This is in the right location that if it had any trajectory outwards as it shot down in a way, it has the potential of hitting us. But look at these massive looping lines and the electricity just traveling along the lines. We've got a sunspot grouping here that has to be massive back here. You've got umbras here, you've got umbras here, you've got a great big filament looping traveling down here. So there's something traveling this whole area back here that just looks massive. If you look over here, and this was 34, 36, and it was really kicking out the big flares and was responsible for giving us the stuff a couple days ago. And look at the filament sizes. This is not near the size of what and how far these are reaching off the sun. This may be the player I was saying, hey, I think there's a CME, but I think there's a full halo going away from us. I think this is the full halo going away from us. I think that in the next 2 or 3 days, we're going to see those sunspots, and those were the ones giving us full halos on the back. But this continues to be an eruptive spot right here that is just continuing to get more active and is kicking out steady CMEs and flares. This is where your big flares are coming from. This is getting more magnetically charged, electrically charged. Look at this. This is a flare. Look at these filament loops lifting up. That is way off the surface of the sun, and that could break off at any time. These are just huge. And every once in a while, you can see the energy shoot back into this region. So these are magnetically connecting. These ones, these regions, the 3443 and 3441 are connecting. They're feeding each other. The electricity is moving, and the magnetic connection between the two is very strong. So this whole region is highly eruptive. Pray for a good sized storm, but pray it's not the kill shot. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. I will see you in the morning.